I see me. Here I am.
Oh, good.
I am live. Popping out my chat. Get over here so I can see it. Hi, Teresa. Hi, Riel. Hi, Melissa. Ian says hi, everyone. Ah, it's another week. Time flies.
Our color shows up pretty good here. Purple
Cool.
this time.
And this, kind of interesting. This stone, depending on the background, is more gray or more purple. On this background, it definitely looks more purple. So, pretty cool. Riel says, hi, Ian. Hi, Siofra.
Hello.
Hi. Robert says, another witchy week. Hello, everyone. Hi, Robert. Carla says, hi, Siofra and Ian. How was your week? Hi, HQ. The patriarchy is falling. It's a lovely feeling. Hi ho. Sorry. Teresa says, did you two have a romantic Valentine's Day? Well, we have a romantic day every day. We didn't do anything special yesterday because
Yeah, we have a.
we don't celebrate these particular days just
Yeah,
because
in
they're there.
particular, but we have. So we just had Siofra's birthday in January, and then got her anniversary coming up in May. May, not March, right?
No, May.
May, yeah. May 23rd.
Right, May 23rd. You are
Yeah.
correct. Yeah, and you know, it's a weird holiday. Like a lot of people feel a lot of pressure, like they're doing something wrong if they don't have somebody and all this other stuff. It's kind of annoying.
Just makes me want to eat chocolate, but
Yeah, because
I
they have.
always want to eat chocolate.
Yeah,
so.
because chocolate's good. Melissa says eggplant. Rial says, I'm enjoying the overcast weather here. I've been doing 10,000 steps, so I'm full of endorphins. Congratulations, that's a lot of steps. Teresa says, so many holidays. I bought roses for my goddesses. Yes, they're everywhere, roses, and lots of goddesses like them, so that's pretty cool. Robert says, witchy weird holiday then, or holy night day. Yeah, whatever it is. Like, you know, good for selling chocolate and roses, flowers. Good opportunity for that. Trying to make sure I can actually see the time on here so I don't forget what we are going. There we go. But I had fun. I had a weird couple of days this week. I slept pretty well, but I did one of my looking at my aura and then traveling through time streams the night before last. And so yesterday, my brain felt odd most of the day. I felt like I wasn't all back yet or something. It was kind of interesting. But yeah, Lisa says geese were spotted in southern Manitoba today. That must be a sign that spring is on the way. Robert says, Siofra, in your circles of friends, do you know someone that is 100% plant-based food or 100% animal-based diet? I don't think I know either one.
No, I mean,
I know a lot of people that, you know, are mostly vegetarian, but
Siofra was a vegetarian for a while, and then we went.
17
We
years.
did vegetarian. I mean, when I met you, was what I meant to say. And we did vegetarian for a short time when we lived in Medford, when they actually had good vegetarian restaurants and things.
I like vegetarian food on the whole.
Yeah, if it's done well,
Yeah.
not just like.
Although the local vegetarian restaurants, it was weird. I went in to have something there, and all of their dishes had things that my body doesn't like. Just because it's a vegetable doesn't mean it's compatible.
Well, we've never found anything over here that's been a good
Yeah.
vegetarian restaurant.
And so I talked to to the woman behind the counter and told her, these are the things I can't eat. And she says, okay, I'm going to have the chef come out and decide what it is you can order, because you are so particular. And I'm like, okay, then. I did not know that I was, oh well.
It's not average, it's difference.
Yeah. So anyway, that was kind of interesting. Melissa says, when my mother died in December 1997, I dreamt of roses falling down in her room, and she died a few days later, brain aneurysm, unforeseen. Wow. Brielle says, yes, the patriarchy is falling. A lot of women prefer to be single than deal with the manipulation. Very few healthy men out there, but I'm focused on being mentally well myself, so self-love is good. Yes, it is. Robert says, when you were vegetarians, did you have more stronger witch energy? No. I don't find that my diet affects my ability to do magic in any way whatsoever. So,
Yeah, it's
I think that's a misnomer that some people want to spread that idea.
well, there's cleansing aspects for spirituality and that, but those are not mostly those are not aimed at people who have to live an everyday life and go to work. A lot of those things where they have to be vegetarian, eat certain restricted and ascetic diets are usually like the ascetic yogis who that's prescribed for their spiritual work, but they don't necessarily care if they can even walk around. You know, they'll sit there in one spot for hours, and that's what all they do. You know, so um, I think it can help in some instances, but only for a short period of time. I think Barden went vegetarian once for 40 days or something just to prepare for a particular ritual, but it's really not important. And in the sense, and Barden goes on to state that it doesn't bring, some of the times they're worried about bringing animal virtues into the person, and that the plant kingdom is more pure, but that's not something to really worry about. Yeah, except for specific rituals and instances, I'd say nothing wrong with being vegetarian, but it's not
Absolutely.
necessary to become spiritually evolved, really.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a preference that some people have, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Croc says, hello, friends. Siofra, I am totally in love with my Tree of Life pendant. It's so beautiful. Once again, I love the design and craftsmanship of the piece. I'm so happy. I was glad when I saw that you bought that. I'm going to sneeze, apparently. Get a toilet paper so I can cover my nose. Well, it's thinking about it. I hate that. It wants to come and then it changes its mind. Anyway, yes. Teresa says, yesterday I made a vegetarian lasagna using lentils. Yeah, they're good. Carla says, energy seems to be moving visibly. The Blitz did the egg meditation and an egg check earlier and a decorative egg showed up. Must be the fire horse coming. Egg check earlier in the week. Okay. Not just in the. Okay. Robert says, some of you here had this experience. Black tourmaline helped me discover the person close to me was a narcissist or toxic. Otherwise, I would have missed it. How can they cover their tracks? Well, because they're really good manipulators. And most people don't see the signs because most of us aren't narcissists or sociopaths. And in general, people judge other people by themselves. So if you're an honest individual and you don't manipulate other people, it's pretty easy to miss those signs because they're not on your radar. It takes a long time to learn how to notice those things when it's not who you are. And I know there's that whole idea that what you see, you're projecting, and everything you see is a part of you. And I disagree with that. I think in some cases, yes, it's true. Projection definitely does happen, but just because you can see someone for who they are doesn't mean that you are them. And I think that there's like a lack of definition of what that actually means, and people glom it all together so that none of their instincts are correct because it's all about you. And I think that's not true. I know I'm not a serial killer. If I recognize one, that doesn't mean I am one. Carla says, that's funny. I usually cough or sneeze around a toxic person. Robert. Then Siofra says she's going to sneeze. Croc says, laugh out loud, Carla. Robert says, yeah, weird, because usually I noticed fast or they were okay, and then all of a sudden they changed, maybe. And indeed, Carla.
I think I'm going to use that. Next time someone's a toxic person, I'm going to start sneezing on. It's like, excuse me, I'm allergic to toxic people. I'm out of here.
I like it. Teresa says, have you ever connected with your younger self and how did it go? Yes, I did that all the time. It's one of the things, one of the practices that I had was connecting to my younger self and sending it love, energy, and acceptance and hope. I did lots of different meditations where I went into the past, literally to my younger self as a child to help me get through all the stuff that I had to go through at the time. And then a lot of rituals, talking to the younger self, and dreams, interacting with my younger self, and yeah. Misty says, hope you guys had a wonderful Valentine's. Thank you. Carla says that Ian, haha. Riel says, I've been doing EFT tapping and it actually works to deprogram negative beliefs. It actually works. Brad Yates has many tapping videos. My therapist recommends tapping. Good. I'm glad that it works. Barbara says, thanks, Misty. So are you, I hope. Having a wonderful Valentine's. Barbara says, I don't know if Valentine refers in some way to a pagan holiday or which. Well, I mean, there's the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, and then is Valentine actually a saint, and there's all kinds of conflicting information about the day and its significance and all this other stuff. So I opted out of remembering that stuff at this point. And I'm like, yeah, I don't care. So they can go. They can do whatever they want to do with it. And if, you aren't treating your spouse well the rest of the year, what you do on Valentine's Day doesn't matter. In fact, if you do something nice on Valentine's and then you're a jerk the rest of the year, it's worse. My opinion.
Yeah.
Completely worse.
Yeah.
It's like, talk about manipulative. So, yeah.
Yes, well, we're nice to each other all the time.
That's right. Yeah. Missy says, imagine something being convoluted like that. Well, there's a lot of those things. And, it's like we're in this reality and in this time now. And sometimes what happens in the past has a direct relationship to what we're doing, but sometimes it's just a distraction. So you have to sort of decide for yourself what is and isn't important. To being able to set the record straight. Carla says, that's interesting. I've not done tapping, but I have a friend who is a therapist that recommends it and practices it. She's an addiction therapist, so very mainstream. Yeah, I think that the tapping is actually pretty mainstream at this point. Fairly accepted as a therapeutic modality. So I made this, my newest piece. And I find the stone in this is interesting. It was sort of like a bead kind of a thing. I mean, it has a hole in it, which is where I put the amethyst. And because I made it like too big for the stone, which I do a lot. So I had to fill it in. I ended up filling it in with amethyst up there. And some lighting the stone is gray, and some lighting it's sort of a light lavender kind of thing. But I kind of like how that changes color a little bit. Sort of came up kind of nice. Experimenting with the silver colored wire. Riala says, most people I know are in horrible relationships, so it's refreshing to see couples who actually love each other. It's true. Apparently, people who actually care about each other and aren't trying to manipulate one another is relatively rare, which doesn't seem like that's how it should be, but yeah. Robert says, sometimes I wonder if any kind of addiction can attract a narcissist towards me. Well, narcissists are attracted to people they can control, so if you're in their orbit, they're going to see if they can do something with you. It really doesn't matter as far as that goes. They're opportunistic predators. So, don't feel bad that it's your problem and your fault that you're attracting them. I mean, when it comes to sociopathy, 1 in 25 people is a sociopath. So the chances of encountering one in your life is pretty high. If 4% of the population are sociopaths, and a lot of those are narcissists because they kind of go together hand in hand a lot, um, yeah, just try to be alert as well as you can. Teresa says, I've connected to myself at various times. I just did it again yesterday. Did myself about 15 to 20 years ago at a very difficult period. I hugged myself and told me that I will be okay and tried to explain what the source of the problems I was having. My younger self said that I felt like an angel. I kind of remember saying that. Awesome. Rock says, wow, that's a beauty, Siofra. Robert says, Teresa, yep, everybody needs a hug. Rock says, what did you say the big stone is? I think it has to be a type of jasper. It was one that I got in, they have these bins where you can buy like 10 stones for $20 or something like that. And you go through and they're not marked. So it was one of those. But I like the stone, and it's an actual stone. It's not like plastic or anything. But it's a guess. I think it's probably a type of jasper. But I'm going to see if I can use one of those apps to more clearly identify it. It's a round stone. Carlos says, wow, how pretty, Siofra. I love the silver. Riella says, yep, I've been telling people about it because I want everyone to have that in the toolbox so they don't have to suffer unnecessarily. But I'm putting that oxygen mask on myself first because I need it. Yeah. Like in a plane crash, use the oxygen first and then you can help other people. Good call. Robert says, red jasper is awesome for digestion, but it cranks the system sometimes too much. Aha. Riel says, yes, it is rare. So I try not to feel bad about being single. It's self-preservation. And every human's closest relationship is with themselves, so healing that helps everyone else who's in contact. That's true. Misty says, it's gorgeous. Thank you. Ron says, hello and many blessings to all of you. Hi, Ron. Nikki says, I'm happy to be here. Well, we're happy you're here too. Welcome to Ask Questions about magic, etc.
Yep, feel free to participate.
Yep. And that sun is maybe going to move in our direction. I'm not sure.
There, I'll
I think
give
it's
the sun
I think it's going that way. It's going
Okay, I'll turn the sun down.
turn the sun down. Thank you. Oh. Barbara says, yes, the pendant is pretty. Some people also like coral stones to wear. Yeah, coral is not a stone. Coral, no,
Stone-like.
it's a stone-like substance. This is true, but it's actually a skeleton, sea creature skeleton, is what it is. Just like amber is not a stone either. It's petrified, so it's hard like a rock, but it's sap. And pearls are not stones either because they're just an irritated piece of something in an oyster that secretions from is oyster secretions. But they are pretty and I love them. So yeah, definitions. Rock says, hello, Ron and Nikki. Ron says, hiya, Ian. Brielle says, welcome to the new people. Yes, we always like new people. Oh, so one of the things I got the other day when I decided to go look for some more rocks, I picked up a chunk of amethyst and I'm going to build a tree around. And this is the chunk. I picked up a bowl, um, ceramic bowl in Goodwill, and I thought that would be a neat thing to like put in the bowl and to wrap the tree roots around the stone and grow a larger tree. I think I'm making it for myself. And I want to get some amethyst chips, so I'm going to make like an amethyst tree or something. So I have that in mind. And this was relatively inexpensive because it's not a really super high quality amethyst, but for the amethyst crystal web, we don't need that, right? So we got another amethyst. So I'm like, all right. Carlos says, well, then you just get that toilet paper and Sharpie out and put that cranked up digestion to good use, Robert. That old brown magic. Yeah, sometimes it's necessary. I also had a couple of visitors this week, too. I think the Black Eagle was there because I kept seeing an eagle in my room. Briella says, laugh out loud, Carla, I just put a-holes into my cat litter box. Carla says, so very necessary. There is life. Carla says, that'll work too, angel girl. Teresa says, I have my own methods. Don't we all? We all have our own methods. I was doing the closed caption stuff for the video Ostara. So I'm going to post it when March comes so people can find it easier. But it was kind of cool. And I go through an entire ritual, one of the rituals that we did, all our calls, etc. Made me think about the spring equinox coming soon, March 20th-ish. I haven't looked to see the exact date. Carla says, yes, it will. Misty says, what kind of protection things do you most recommend in a work office? I have put so much energy into the area. Let me think. Well, you can have like a figurine that people don't realize could be witchy that you could charge up as a sort of a protector. Stones, obviously, there's a lot of different kinds of stones that you could use. Any of the black stones are helpful, or selenite to bring positive energy into the office. We probably can't do like incense, but you could have a scented tea that you make, something that's got cinnamon in it or some fragrance that brings people's mood up and that kind of thing. Sometimes the best protection is positive space, positive energy space. Black tourmaline is good for getting rid of negative people and that kind of thing. You certainly have invisible barriers that you can put up around your desk or your space or something like that. Because unless people are in the know, they're not going to notice that, but they might automatically steer around you and not come near you because energetically they feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, it'd be a good purpose for a chunk of stone. I mean, just gonna look like a rock on your desk, take a nice chunk of stone and charge it up for that.
Yeah.
You can use anything, but using something appropriate for the purpose makes it more effective, of course.
Carla says we should do a Zoom for Ostara. Oh, I'll think about that. We'll see when it is. I'm going to be in the middle of having my cataracts done, so I'm not sure exactly what kind of a frame of mind I'm going to be in. Riella says, I don't like baneful magic. It's rare for me to use it, but just like I would protect myself physically and emotionally, I need to protect myself spiritually. Absolutely. Flexible
Yeah.
says, hi all. Hi, Flexible. Barbara says, black tourmaline, amethyst, black jet, labradorite, selenite, so many more. Pink salt lamp. Yeah, some good ideas. Croc says, hi, Flexible. Ickle says, hello, lovely people. Happy Sunday. Hi, Ickle. Croc says, hi, Ickle. Misty says, love the figurine idea. I have mirrors in the corner. Love those ideas. I will have to try the figurine. Yeah, and if you have like a spirit animal that you work with or something like that, you can make it in that, that form. Like for me, my totems are the bear and the deer. And then I have bear and panther for power animals that are just on another plane, sort of different qualities. So having something from that or from any kind of thing. But yeah, think about it and see what fits. Carla says we're having a small fire on Tuesday for the fire horse. We're riding on bay leaves and telling the flames we're done with all this nastiness. Yay for you. Melissa says, how do you charge an object? Okay, so basically, you get the object that you have some resonance with. The imagery is important to have understanding of the qualities of the object or what qualities it naturally has. And then you hold the object, and in your mind you sort of you get in your mind of vision or definition or something of what it is that these qualities will do for you. You're basically programming the object and telling it what its job is and what its parameters are and what it can do for you. So if you're holding like a selenite, which is a very positive white energy, light energy, universal life force kind of thing, you can hold that in your hand and visualize that it is becoming like a sphere of this light energy all around your space. And
basically feel like your willpower is affecting the object and leaving that intention in there.
right. So that's what you do. So whatever the object is, it is like you're doing the same thing no matter what the object is, but you're changing what you're thinking and how you're feeling and what you're doing with it. And holding it in your hands and visualizing the energy going into it is a good method.
Yeah, you're kind of pressing it. Imagine you're like pressing it into the object, and that's your willpower is charging it up that way.
Yeah. Teresa says, I was talking with this medium last week. He was someone I used to know 30 years ago. He told me to connect with your younger self and absorb them into yourself, and you could absorb their vitality to help yourself feel younger and stronger. Okay.
Well, it doesn't say anything negative about doing it.
Yeah, I don't. Having a young, youthful mind is good for staying young and healthy as far as the way you think and so forth. So, Flexible says, Siofra, so far every time I felt a spirit, that magnetic-like living body, was deep in trance or almost asleep. With your experience, can you feel them without those deep mental states? Well, yeah, I can. Not everybody can. I mean, it depends upon your level of experience and exposure and openness. If you're really super distracted when you go into a place, there's a good chance that they could try to approach you and you won't notice them because your thoughts are like all around you and kind of blocking the impressions, because their energy is a lot more subtle than like a living person standing in front of you who's holding up space.
But the more you experience that, the easier it becomes. The more you're aware of it. Being aware of it and alert for it is probably the most important thing. And then your abilities will kind of naturally increase if you just let it happen.
One of the reasons why people have more encounters with those kinds of energies when they're getting ready to go to sleep is because they're less distracted and they're in one place. And so there's a better chance of a insubstantial being making a connection with your energy field and saying, hey, hello. Missy said mama bear energy would be perfect. Yeah, that's what I adopted the bear when I lived up north because I needed to learn how to be a better parent. I needed a mentor and I chose the bear from the animal kingdom because I've always had a bit of an affinity anyway. And, it was like they're really good at setting boundaries and taking no guff and protecting their kids. So it's like, seemed like a good thing, and it stays. It has stayed. Flexible says at Croc, hi. Robert says, Siofra, sometimes I see videos or even pictures with orbs. What are they? Do you have a deep knowledge about it? They are ghosts? It depends. I mean, a lot of the orbs that you see on videos are going to be dust motes that are just floating through the air, and the people have noticed them. Sometimes it seems like they have independent significance and they travel in different directions than the rest of the dust particles might be in there. And if you're there in person and you can sense an intelligence behind them, that sort of gives more validity to it. I tend not to pay too much attention to videos that have orbs in them because unless you're there in person, it's hard to know exactly what it is that's happening.
Yeah, there's just too many things that can make orbs,
Yeah.
We see a lot of them on our security cameras, and when they turn on infrared at night, we get a lot of stuff. We get a mist that blows around. It looks like a flock of bugs or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like quite exciting. They're like, what the heck is that stuff? And then every so often we have a spider that will make like a thin strand across the lens, and it is bright white, and it looks like there's an alien beam coming out of the sky landing in our yard. It's pretty spectacular, but it's not. It's, you know, so yeah, knowing what the camera you're using will do is important, and the lighting conditions and what they can do. But I saw somebody sent me a picture of a mist in the woods in broad daylight,
Hey,
and that really reminded me of the picture that we took when we were clearing out the power spot.
I got knocked out of the chat
I'm sorry, how did that happen?
because I was still connected in the house instead of out
Oh,
here.
yeah, the house is not a good computer internet,
Too far away.
too far away. But yeah, and when we took the pictures of the layout, when I put all the wands and my staff and all the stones and everything there was this moving mist that showed up in different photographs throughout. And she got the same kind of a thing. She got this. It's a clear mist. So sometimes you can get some interesting things on cameras. And so that looked pretty distinct, and there wasn't anything around there. There wasn't a fog or anything like that. That kind of thing. So yeah, you never know. Riel says, I have an entity, maybe a dark fae, that gives me nightmares and stirs up my insecurities in dream form. Then when I wake up, he's dressed up in whatever the dream thing is, and I flip him off. That sounds like a good response. I'm sick of shadow work. Well, take a break. Take a break from it. Robert says, me too, Brielle. Teresa says, Brielle, that's your shadow talking out loud, laughing out loud. Robert says, not necessarily.
Celery.
Mm-hmm. Brielle says, but every dream seems very significant, so I don't think that being is bad, but it seems to push me into confronting fear or grievances and stand up for myself. Brielle says, laugh out loud. Teresa, probably. Melissa says, thank you, Ian and Siofra. You're welcome. And Brielle says, I think I'm being purged of a lot. Carla says, goosebumps on neck is my indicator. Oh, for when there's a spirit around? Sun Dragon says, hi, Siofra, and hi, Ian. Hi, Sun Dragon.
Hello.
Brielle says, I see orbs physically, so I can reality check all my videos as I film them, so I won't post a video unless I can actually see it physically as I'm filming, but I still get skeptics and naysayers. The orbs around me are pretty obvious. They want to be seen. Well, and it's not important whether people believe you or not, really, when it comes down to it. It's the importance of your own experience. You don't have to have necessarily validation from others, unless they're there in person. Carla says, yes, I've experienced that in certain power spots. The lens is like a go-between, and you can see the in-between. Carla says, some do, Brielle, during a tarot reading, mostly for me. And it's interesting, Carla. I think it's quite a possibility that more of that kind of phenomena will be visible if we shift our energy enough. You know, if our realms become a little bit more energetically closer as far as that goes, because that veil seems to be thinning to me. It's like, of course, it's always somewhat thin for me, so I'm not always a good best judge, but it seems like it's thinner. I was checking out my aura the other day, and I really have this really strong purple aura all around the outside of my energy field. It's coming into focus really quickly. And of course, that nice emerald green that I have in my hands. It's pretty cool. And I was playing with pulling energy out of my from one hand to the other and doing little designs in the air with my energy field. Yeah, everyone was entertained. Teresa says, I agree that it seems thinner for sure. Hmm. Melissa says, do you happen to know of a secret massage technique for severely arthritic thumb and wrist? Rub peanut oil, warmed peanut oil into your joints can help because it will actually help increase the synovial fluid content of your joint. That's something that you can do. You have to be careful warming it up, though. It's got a very low burning point. Carla says, for sure, Siofra, you can see the waves like heat off a sidewalk. Riel says, yeah, that's true, but I needed a lot of validation that I wasn't going nuts in the beginning because it's very obvious, and I wasn't overt scared, but now I'm mostly calm about it. Teresa says, you must have been wire wrapping with your aura. No, I think it's from my memory of being an aura dancer. I mean, that was one of the first lives I remembered when I was born, was being able to manipulate my aura and make pictures out of it and dance with it and move with it. And I've actually done that throughout my life, and it was more like that, pulling the energy out and moving it around and making pictures and that kind of thing. It was long before I ever wire wrapped. So Riel says, same Carla, I see the aura trails. Robert says, I wire wrap my crystals. Good. Melissa says, peanut oil? I haven't heard that one. Thank you. It's one of the oils that soak in through the skin. It's one of Edgar Casey's recommendations. He actually recommended it for muscle tone as well. There was a girl that had an atrophied limb. She'd been in an accident and broken her leg and hadn't been able to walk for years, and all of her muscles were like kind of dissolving away, which is what happens when you can't use something. And he told her mother to massage her leg with peanut oil every night, and it actually reconstituted the muscles. They actually came back, and she was able to then use her leg like normal. So I've learned a lot from Edgar Casey's recommendations for things and practiced and used them on myself. Of course, if you're allergic to peanut oil, please don't do that. Carla says, yep, plain as day, Brie. Then Dragon says, I know what you mean, Siofra. Always felt thin to me too, but seeing right through it in a translucent wall is something I am seeing more nowadays. Yes, so much thinner. Yes. And I'm seeing a lot through my eyelids, which is annoying when I'm trying to sleep. Oh my God, yes, Carla. Brielle says, sorry, typo. And I corrected that already. And Carla says, I knew who you meant. Brielle says, that's cool, aura dancing. Yeah, I actually just transcribed that video talking about reincarnation and past lives. And that was like, remembering that time and that place gave me an inexplicable hope for the world, because I remembered a time when things were so completely different. You could see power spots, everyone could see power spots. It's like the worlds energetically were closer together, or they were merged together. Everything was visible, spirits were visible. And I had these experiences like I had a table that had the essence of moonlight in the table. And I had a sort of a, I don't know, like a perfume bottle kind of thing that was filled with the essence of mountain breezes. I mean, there was all this kind of really amazing and cool stuff. I had a mirror where I could talk to spirit beings and just like have conversations with them. The stones were alive when you stepped on the steps. You could feel them resonating with you as you walked. And it was like we were cells, groups of individuals, not individuals, but groups of people, kind of like a beehive almost. And I was the aura dancer, and I manipulated and merged everyone's colors together, and we made pictures. And during one of those events, I decided I wanted to see what was in the future, and I saw now, and it was terrible. I didn't like it, and I decided I should try and come to now and bring light to a world that was dark and empty. Really not consciously understanding what that meant, because we were in a very different state of mind. Hard to describe. But remembering all that stuff when I was little uh, it it kept hope alive, even though I was in such a horrible place. And may explain my insane optimism in the face of reality in some cases. But I also remembered being burned at the stake as a witch, so it wasn't all good. Like balance there. I was like, ha. Melissa says, that's interesting information about Casey. I'm allergic to peanuts, but going to try it. Oh, please be careful. If you're allergic to peanuts, you shouldn't try it.
Yeah, I mean, there's other things
Seriously.
that'll do the same thing. What you basically need is a light enough oil that it soaks in. You know, I would think grapeseed oil might make a
Yeah, grapeseed
good
oil might help.
substitute. That's a pretty light oil.
It is.
Yeah.
Melissa, try walnuts, is what Robert says. Melissa says, why is it that on occasion I tune in on a remote view and sometimes I see it coming but cannot tune in? I don't know. Sometimes we're 100% there, sometimes we're not. Carla says, yes, like laying outside in the sun with your eyes closed, all the patterns. Oh, yeah. Sun says, yes, Siofra, last night I was seeing through eyelids. Yes, same scene even when I was playing on what was playing on TV. Yeah, it's annoying though, isn't it? Your astral vision. It's like, I had one night that it was so annoying. I close your astral eyelids too, not just your physical eyes. So I was going like this, poking my eyes, like, yeah, they're closed. They're definitely closed. Doesn't hurt if I poke them. I want to go to bed. I want to go to sleep. Carla says it feels very feminine, all that energy. Riel says, yeah, I get the eyelid thing a few times a week. When I first awoke in on 2023, I couldn't close my eyes without seeing colors and patterns and entities. It was frightening, but then I figured out to relax. So glad I didn't let the doctors put me on psych meds. I knew I was sane. I was just seeing the other side. I knew it was a blessing and I needed to be brave. Melissa says, you don't know? I thought you knew everything. Nope. I'm not completely omniscient. Just very much so in some areas. Rial says, yeah, don't mess around with that peanut allergy. That can be dangerous. And Melissa says, Robert, then thank you. And Carla says, yeah, I can feel past energy, kid stuff in the present, commingling of sorts. Yeah, it is an interesting exercise to do, just to send positive energy and hope to a younger self. I had this memory one day I was in the house by myself. There was nobody home. And I decided I was going to sing. And I just went through the house and I was singing every positive song I knew. And I knew apparently a fair number of them. By the time it was done, the house felt completely different. It was very interesting. Also says Brielle Barron, thank you, Brie. Robert says, anybody here worked with the combo of shungite and charoite and shungite and pink fluorite? I have charoite and fluorite. I love charoite. That stuff is wonderful. Or however you say it, charoite. Charoite. That's how I say it because I've never heard anyone say it out loud. That wonderful purple stone. I made a necklace out of it once. I still have it somewhere in my house, in the house. What about morganite? Have you worked with morganite? I was seeing some morganite beads. Carlos says, I can't carry a tune in a bucket, but I know what you mean. Music is definitely magic. Yeah, we were a very singing household. My mother had a piano. She picked up this piano for like $5 or $10, an old upright, and she played music throughout the house, and we sang show tunes and all kinds of things. She really liked a lot of the musicals and whatnot. I was actually in the a cappella group. Um, what did they call them? They sang Renaissance music. Can't remember what it's called now, but that was interesting and fun. So singing has always been a thing in our family. And I sang a lot to my children. I played guitar, auto harp. My mother had an auto harp. We did coffee houses. Met some of the people in the folk music community in D.C. area. So yeah, it was kind of interesting and fun. Carlos says, my parents could sing. Mom sang with a local country band, and Dad played the guitar and sang. I really like a lot of old folk music. Some of it's pretty lyrical. But music can be very helpful in ritual, for sure. Sounds and music can carry you to places that it sort of short circuits your mental barriers, I think.
Yeah.
It sort of enters in directly through your ears into your brain and lifts you and follow the music even if you can't sing
Yeah.
it.
Not that Crowley's relevant at all to what we do, but that was one of his things is he used a lot of poetry and music in his rituals and things, and he found it very elevating.
He had a very high pitched voice
yes.
for what he looked like. He's
very
strange.
Very few people have heard him in person, but I used to have a tape recording of him.
Yeah. It's like
he sounds such a high pitched voice.
You think he'd be a castrato?
You wouldn't think so from looking at him, and then hearing his voice. Yep.
Yeah. You just go like, really? That's what he sounds like? That was not how I thought it would be in my head. Sometimes reality is not the same as it is in your head. And they clang.
What I thought he'd sound like either.
They clash with each other. Yep. Yeah, we have a lot of internalized imagery that we adopt without even knowing it until we meet the person that we've internalized that for and find out that they're actually an individual and they don't necessarily go along with our internalized projection of what they're supposed to be like. It can be an interesting discordant moment in time. I had that when I met Starhawk for the first time. I was just like, what? That's not what she's supposed to look like. That's not how she looks in my head. So reality and my inner self had a conflict there. Well, reality won.
That happened when I worked for the lottery, and I talked to these dispatchers every day on the phone, and then when I went up to Salem one day and got to meet them, they didn't look anything like I thought. None of them.
Yep.
They all looked totally different than the image that I'd gotten in my head from talking
from listening to their
yep.
voice. Yep. Yeah, we do it so automatically. It's good to find out that we're doing it and to be able to like dismiss some of those illusory things that we have in our head. Carla says, he sang a lot of Elvis to me, a lot of Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings. I broke their hearts. R&R girl here. Rock and roll. But no, they liked my music too. Riel says, he looks like a tough guy, but he has a dainty voice. No, he has an extremely high-pitched voice.
Yeah, it's extremely high-pitched.
It's like, what? I mean, it's like about 10 octaves higher than you would expect. He is seriously not.
He's very rotund in some shots, but
yes.
Doesn't sound like it.
He's like, he speaks like a tenor would sing. I mean, in like that kind of high-pitched sound. It's just like discordant in your head. Melissa says, have you ever gone to Salem, Massachusetts, and what did you think of it? I went for my first time a few years ago. I pictured something different. No, I haven't been to Salem. I was raised in Rhode Island from first grade through 8th grade, or the first part of 8th grade. But I very much identified with Salem, Massachusetts, and it's not like we were very far away. We could have gone. My mother once took us on a drive and ended up in Maine, accidentally, because we were watching all the colored leaves and things, and she really didn't know how far we'd gone, and she stopped at this gas station and asked this guy where in Massachusetts she was, and he looked at her and said, Massachusetts, lady, you're in Maine. She went like, oh my God, don't tell your father, because he was under restrictions to never go past more than one boundary, like into crossing over into another state. You only do one. So yeah, she was a bad girl. We had a lot of pretty leaves. But I remember when I heard about them in school, I was very fascinated by what they were sharing at the time. And I, of course, already knew I was a witch, so that was kind of sobering. And Carla says, I liked the Hawthorne, Melissa. Brielle says, I'm going to look him up to hear his voice. Be right back. Okay. Flexible says, I have to leave early. I wish you all a pleasant week. See you next live. Bye, Flexible. Bye. Thank you for coming. We appreciate it. Melissa says that Carla, I did not get a chance to see the Hawthorne. I have a client that went to Salem, Massachusetts and brought me back a magnet. So I have a magnet from Salem, hand delivered. I like getting stuff like that. It's like somehow it seems better than just getting it and buying it through the mail.
Oh, that's true.
It has more significance, energetically speaking. Somebody thought of you when they were there and bought this for you and then went to the trouble of putting it in their luggage and bringing it back and then giving it to you.
Is that the same reason you have a nun, Eula? You know, the little nun.
Oh.
You wind up, it sparks shoot out his mouth.
That was a gift from a client, but that was not hand delivered from another place. That was a joke shop. Yeah, somebody gave me a flaming nun. She has a ruler, and you wind her up, and she goes like this with her hand, like she's beating you, and sparks come out of her mouth.
Her feet
and her feet go like this.
Like an old spark generator, yeah. It's pretty cute.
Like, ah! They thought it was pretty funny. I don't really have a thing with the nuns, so but I'm like, okay.
But I just thought it was funny too.
It was pretty funny. Yeah. It's kind of cute. Somebody else got me a pencil that had a big thing on it that says I'm a witch. And the eraser was one of those like witches with the big noses and stuff, and they were worried I'd be offended. I'm like, I know that's not me. Melissa says, if I go to Salem again, I'll send you a magnet. I already have one of those. Give me something different. But yes, it's life is interesting. Looks like it got a little bit gray at the moment. It was sunny earlier. Now the sun went away. I talked bad at it, I guess. It went.
It's just...
You closed the curtain and said, okay, fine, you don't want me here. I'm going to go away now.
It's been gonna rain.
Yeah.
We just had a hole in the clouds, that's all.
Sun Dragon says, sister flamethrower. Yep. Carla says, this was probably 25 years ago, though. I still see some of that stuff at her place after 2 moves. You never know what you're going to remember or find or rediscover. Carla says, oh my God, shot glasses. Brielle says, okay, I listened. He does have a high voice. I was expecting a deep voice with him. Yes, so were we. I think pretty much everyone on the planet, when they see a picture of him, has that expectation. Melissa says, have you considered the Zoom for discussion sometime? Well, we do classes through Zoom, and I need to organize another class, but yeah, we've considered that. And we do the Amethyst Crystal Web on Zoom, and yeah. So we'll see what the future holds. Like I said, right now I've got all these appointments for getting my cataracts taken care of. So try not to make too many plans ahead of time until I know exactly how well that will do. Carla says, geez, oh Mandy, what a typo. Yeah. Being a busy person means I have to schedule things. Lisa says, did cataracts run in your family? Cataracts runs in everyone's families. Everyone on the planet, if they live long enough, will get cataracts. It has nothing to do with genetics. It just has to do with how the eye ages. and we're living longer. And my cataracts actually, I'm a lot older than a lot of people are the first time they have cataract, when they get cataract surgery. So I found out I had them starting about 20 years ago, and he figured that I wasn't going to have to worry about them for quite some time, and he was right. Carla says, Melissa, did you go to the oldest witch shop in Salem? I can't remember what it's called. I'd know it if I heard it. Misty says, I'm taking my mom to have hers done in March. Hope it goes well for you. Yeah, mine's March 4th is going to be my first one. We're going to do my left eye first. And I found this great YouTube video given by a doctor, an eye doctor, on what to expect for the healing process, and watched the whole thing because there was a lot of really good quality information in there. So I was glad that I found that particular person. Melissa says, you did good. Yes. Gail says, I just put my heater on in my room and now I'm warm enough to actually get up to do chores. Or warm enough to take a nap. It's always good to be warm. Ugh. In almost an hour. This is at Carla. I'm not sure where I went. We mostly stayed on the main cobblestone street. Did you do any of the like haunted tours? Sure, they must have them. Practically every town back east has got a haunted tour that people can sign up for. Yeah, it's a sad thing that people died for no good reason. Riela says, we're so spoiled in modern day times, we have temperature control. Melissa says, not that day, no museums or tour. I imagine the museum would be kind of interesting. Carlos says, it'd be awesome, Siofra. My mom had both hers done and she doesn't need glasses anymore. Well, I don't need glasses in general for distance anymore, but I will still probably need them for close up because I'm not going to pay the extra $2,500 per eye to get the super duper kind that let you do both.
Or whatever,
Exactly,
yeah.
bifocal lenses in my eye. I'm not sure how well I would adapt to that anyway. But yes, I'm looking forward to it. Teresa says, dry eye syndrome was something my surgeon never mentioned. Get lots of drops without preservative, and omega-3 is helpful. Well, yeah, the guy talked about your eyes being dry, and I see for my pre-op tomorrow, so I'm going to talk to the surgeon about all of those things. That's why I was glad I found the video. It mentioned pretty much everything. Melissa says, I was writing the article, so I investigated the TST. Did you look into Chinese traditional medicine for your eyes? No. Not for this. The only way to get rid of cataracts is through the surgery. Carla says, yeah, they wanted her to get some kind of extra laser treatment, and she declined. Well, I'm from what I heard on the video, basically about 40% of cases people get like a sort of a foggy film at the back of the lens, and they use the laser to fix that. They just do a single laser pinpoint at the back of the lens to clear it up. So if they need to do that, I will say yes, because I like clarity. Melissa says, goes to show how much I know about cataracts. Well, you know, when they always ask you what kind of things run in your family, I thought that was the case because I knew that my grandfather had them and my grandmother had them. And I too thought that they were genetic until I learned more about cataracts and was told no, it's just part of the aging eye process. Riel says, I watched a documentary on the Siberian people who travel with reindeer. It's minus 30 degrees there and they bathe once a week in a tent for the heat, where they heat up blocks of ice with fire to bathe. That's fun. Melissa says, interesting. Yeah, when I lived up north in the cabin in the woods with just the wood stove and stuff like that, we took a bath once a week, whether we needed it or not, because it's a huge production. Me and my two kids. It's a huge amount of work when you live in a primitive environment to actually take a full-on bath. I was extremely excited when we got one of those actual bathtubs instead of just the big tub. It was an actual bathtub, like a 4-foot bathtub you could sit in. and stretch your legs out a little bit. I have to heat up all the water, and I start with my daughter because she was the smallest, had the least amount of water in it. Then I heat up more water, add it for my son, and then heat up more water and add it for myself. So, and we didn't change the water in between because that would be huge waste of water. Then you had to haul all the water out one bucket at a time because you couldn't move the tub. There was too much water in it. It was too heavy. And even when you just had a little water, if you weren't careful, it sloshed up and make giant waves like a tsunami coming out of the tub. So yeah, it's a production, and it took all day. Started first thing in the morning, and usually took until about 4 o'clock before we were finished. It was like, it takes a long time to heat up water. But yeah. Rio says, then they gave a big tent that they share with 13 relatives, and they tear everything down and travel every few days with their herd of reindeer. Teresa says, another thing I was not told post-op was not to rub your eye. That was also in the video. And I'm actually thinking of getting an eye patch so that I can put it over my eye so I don't accidentally rub it while I'm sleeping. They said that you can expect that your eyes will be irritated and feel like there's sand or eyelashes or something in your eye, and that's not supposed to touch them. Melissa says that Teresa, exactly. Riel says their life seems so simple, close-knit community, and everyone has a job. Yes, and if they don't do their job, they die. That's kind of like the way it works. Melissa says, I watched a show where tribes in Africa bathe with incense. Cool. Carla says this was more a type of treatment so that after her cataracts were removed, she wouldn't need glasses. She declined that and still wound up not needing glasses. Riel says that's interesting. A lot of interesting things out there. Carla says, but definitely making sure there's no cloudiness is good. Yeah, I mean, it was very informative. He went through all the steps and the possibility of infection, etc. I should be having antibiotic eye drops they should be giving me. And I don't know if they're going to supply the eye drops for dry eyes or not, but we certainly can pick them up if they don't. Yeah. And there's also drops you can get for pain if you have pain and discomfort. And the video also went through the potential side effects, the ones that you need to call the doctor about and let them know something happened. Liza says, are you going to be posting a class schedule for the spring soon? I'm going to be working on it. Like I said, I got to get through my eyes, see how I respond to the first one. And I'm going to have a break between them, so maybe I can do one in between. I don't know. It'll be after the full moon, though, this month, because the full moon will be before my first cataract surgery. It'll probably be like the 1st or 2nd of March. My surgery's on the 4th, which is a Wednesday, so I'll probably do it on and the full moon is on the 3rd, so I'll probably do it on the 2nd. It'll be the day after that live show. You are free to enjoy what we're doing and participate if you want. Carla says, yep, she had the drops, but I can't remember if they gave them to her or if we bought them. Research is important when it comes to your health. And finding accurate information is also important. So you really can't depend upon the medical community to actually tell you everything you need, it seems. They're doing it so often. Carla says, yay, that's Mom's birthday. All right, yay for your mom having a birthday. Birthdays are good. Melissa says, have you ever had a meeting with other witches in the astrals? I've had some encounters with some astral groups, but not specifically at this point. I think that our amethyst crystal web is creating something like that, because that's starting to form when we get together. So we're sort of having a space, as it were, in the astral mental plane or what have you, where we're collecting our energies. But everybody's on a different path, so. Riel says, do you notice the etheric cobweb-like energy at dark? It's staticky. I think it's like the etheric field or something. Well, when the sun goes down, it's easier for me to see it, but it's there all the time. It's kind of like when I'm doing it on purpose in a blue sky, I call it the gray popcorn. But yes, and it is like when I was doing the following the threads the other night, I was really seeing it all as like a spider web connection thing, energetically speaking, going in all these different directions and space and time. So I'd say yes. Carlos says definitely. Rio says yes. What is that? That's the living field of the universe. I mean, it's the only way I can describe it. What that is, it's like um, the underpinning of all matter, and it's all connected in ways, and energetically and physically and everything else. I sort of think of it like a fabric, but then it's got lines of force that are stronger in some places than others. And sometimes you can follow those little streams or streamers of energy and force and see those. And sometimes it's more like a folding, undulating kind of energy. Is probably why my brain felt so weird yesterday. I don't think I came all the way back. I felt like, did I have some MSG or something? So, Riel says, I tried to get it off me, then realized I was connected to everything. Yes, you can't get it off you. Teresa says, as you were moving your hands across the screen, the light kept changing color. Oh, awesome. Apparently, I'm very powerful. Or our camera is freaking out and doesn't know what to do with me. Carlos says, clear, starry nights is best to see. I actually find clear days are, at this point, are pretty easy for me to see in. And I had a past life memory, actually, with the starry sky once, where I remembered um, laying in an open field and looking at the stars and seeing visions in the sky. So that apparently has been an ability that I've had in other lifetimes. That was sort of a brief kind of memory I had from some other time. So yeah, it was kind of interesting. And I had some cool experiences in the night. One time I looked up and I could see people that were out of their body. I could see their astral streams, their trails that they were leaving. They were leaving like colored sparks and trails as they were flying by. I was like, wow, look at those. There's like people at the end of these things, and they're just like flying along and making all these cool patterns. And then I had another time in broad daylight where I saw silver cords from people who were traveling, and there was a whole flock of birds. It might have been starlings. They were a small bird, and they were all flying around in a group. And I watched as they very carefully avoided all of the silver cords that were there. They flew around them and avoided them completely. I just thought, how interesting is that? So yeah, you never know what you're going to see. Briella says, wow, that's so cool that you can see it. Carla, Carla says, I've had dreams of scenes in the sky, not in my awake state. And Brielle says, people flying around like that? Yes. And I was on a group and somebody was asking about flash visions, that they had a flash vision of something. It was very, very real, like they saw a wolf's face and it was instantaneous. And asked if anyone else had them. And it's like, I get those all the time. Sometimes they're just, they are not applicable. Relevant, I guess, would be better term. And sometimes annoying, like when I'm shopping and saw the people that were robbing the store at different times that weren't there right then, or going by an ATM machine and seeing a guy standing there yelling and pounding on the machine because his bank account was lower than he thought it should be. And you know there's a bathroom in the mall I can't go in because there was a woman who was severely assaulted in there, and every time I went into that bathroom I would see it, and I found that very annoying. It just was still there, so I avoid that bathroom because what's the point? It's not happening now. So sometimes being able to see these things is not necessarily useful or helpful or fun. It's like, no. Carla says mostly fireworks making characters, maybe cartoon-like characters, animals. Gail says I get those occasionally. It's like seeing a snapshot, but it's random. Yeah. Um, Anna Potts says, could that be you seeing people astral traveling? Well, yeah, that was definitely what that was. Riel says, oh God, that's terrible. And Melissa says, do you think a person with abilities could find a person that was taken? Sometimes. It depends upon their particular abilities. Not everyone's abilities are going to be the same. I did help the police locally here find a dead body once, which I did not think I could do, and yet I did. And I don't want to do that again. So, but yes, and the way I found her was I had the officer take me to the last spot they knew that she was alive. They didn't know for sure if she was dead or alive at that point. And I sat in the space that she was in, and I tapped into when she had been there and felt what she felt. And then I followed in her footsteps and basically led him directly to her body. So, yeah, it was kind of uncomfortable, but I was glad I did it because she really wanted to be found. And when the officer actually located her body and said, I found her, I felt like somebody punched me in the stomach real hard, like bam, right in the solar plexus. And all the air went out of me, and all of a sudden I felt much better. So, and her family was very appreciative. And I kept myself out of the papers because I really didn't want to have any kind of thing to do with that, which was one of the reasons why they thought I was genuine, because I wasn't looking for notoriety or what have you. And so the family gave him permission to let me go out there and help. They sent me a nice card afterwards. They found out who I was, and they sent me a card and thanked me for that, giving them closure. But when you ask somebody to do something like that, you're not necessarily considering the potential emotional ramifications of what's going to happen to the psychic that opens themselves up to this, because it is, when you're actually feeling what someone else felt, it's very visceral, and it can be very difficult, damaging, hard to recover from, kind of thing. So, yeah, everybody is different. Carla says, I'm always looking out the spare bedroom window in my childhood home, then see firework animals moving across the sky. Same scene, scenario every time. Cool. Melissa says, wow, that's incredible. Too bad they do not find someone to find Nancy G. Yeah, I was thinking about that actually. And that's a terrible thing. Carlos says, oh, Siofra. Riel says, that's heavy work. Noeo says, did you personally work with tarot or astrology? I worked with tarot for many years, and I used it mostly for my own purposes. I did tarot readings for other people and decided to stop doing that because, for one thing, I had some very strange people coming to ask for tarot readings. I had this couple come in once. She brought her boyfriend. He was 25 years younger than her. And she wanted me to do a reading on their relationship. And I'm like, oh God, this is not going to turn out well, because I could tell as soon as they walked in the door that the energy was all wrong. And then she walked out and yelled at me and said she could do a better reading a book herself. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you for going away. I think that was the last time I actually did one on purpose for other people, So I mostly used it for myself, to learn more about myself and what things might be coming and that kind of thing, and haven't used tarot in a long time. And you have different phases when you're learning these different techniques and magic and following your path and so forth. And so you can get completely and totally involved in a particular aspect for many, many years and get a lot out of it. And then find yourself moving into another field altogether, and that one just sort of falls aside. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it, but it just depends on where you are and how your brain works. At this point, my direct communication with the universe is pretty strong, so I don't need an intermediary to help me figure stuff out, which is what the tarot would be for me. It'd be an intermediary. Melissa said, do you think Sylvia Brown was accurate? No, I do not. She was too certain of everything she thought she knew, and she was wrong about a lot of stuff. She actually made some pretty public declarations about people that were kidnapped and alive or kidnapped and dead and turned out to be wrong. So, not understanding the potential human mistakes and ego mistakes that can happen when you're doing something like that, and coaching or couching it into terms that let people know that you know this may not be 100% accurate. She was too absolute. So I don't think she was. And some of the stuff she said about spirits that I read, I know is wrong from my own personal experience. So, you know, maybe it's just me. I don't know. Gail says, yeah, I checked out all of the sad things on the news because I got overwhelmed and start disassociating. I checked out of all the sad things. It's a good idea because sometimes it doesn't help. Carla says, just tapping in at the slightest level on Nancy G. Did you sense a bigger picture, like to cause distraction? It feels chaotic. When I tap into that, I don't think she's going to be found alive, but that's just a guess, I think. And I think there is something else going on, but I don't think it's a plan. I think it's like not a big plan. So, Riel says it's not healthy to be exposed to too much negative news, especially if you're empathetic or empathic. Yeah, that's true. Shay says, hello everyone. Happy end of Valentine's weekend. Hoping you're all well. Thank you, Shay. I am. So is Ian. Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, we all work different. With me in the universe, the way I work is like the universe puts things in my path, and if it puts something in front of my feet, I look at it and decide, is there something I can do about this that's going to be helpful or not? Or do I have the skills to do anything about this? And then I decide whether I'm going to pick it up and do something with it or not. And so, it's like a call out for assistance. It's like, yeah. And I've not been tapped for this, so I'm not going to do anything. Melissa says, Shay, hi, Shay. And you're like a real life ghost whisperer. Well, yeah, actually. My daughter was completely shocked. We were only out there for half an hour. They'd been looking for her for 6 weeks, and they'd had 100 people out there and dogs and everything and never found her. And me and the officer were there for half an hour and located her, and I called my daughter on the phone to tell her to get my husband to come and pick me up because I'd gone with the officer, so I couldn't leave because he couldn't leave the body once he found it. And Ian had to come and pick me up. And she's like, "Oh my God, it's like an episode of Psychic Detectives." I said, "Yeah, I know, but it's real because it happened to me." Yeah. So it was. Everybody was like, "Whoa!" I'm like, including me. I dreamt I was going to find her, and I said, "Nah, that's just wishful fulfillment thinking. Just don't even put any thought into that whatsoever. That's not happening. There's no way." Yep. And then there was. It was a way. So. Carla says, couldn't locate either. Brielle says, thanks, Shay. Brielle says, reminds me of that movie, The Gift. Yeah, that was kind of a cool movie. I enjoyed that. Melissa says, I think you should start working again, Siofra. No, I'm working already. Working with you guys, interacting on a weekly basis, doing videos, doing classes, doing Amethyst Crystal Web, extra, rituals, living a life, having to clean my house. I'm pretty busy. I don't think I need to go out and try and find people and do all that stuff at this point. Leave it for the younger people. They can do that. Zun says, yes, we have to have boundaries or we can find our own self out, but it's great when you are able to help. Yeah, I still do the ghost hunting kind of stuff. I just haven't had one of those cases come across my path at this point. But I did a lot of that. I've done a lot helping spirits cross over to the other side, and I considered that was a spiritual, not responsibility, but yeah, something that I could do that I knew I could do, and I could help with that, and so I would do that when it came up, because not everybody can help a spirit cross over to the other side. That's how we got our plumbing fixed. Because I helped someone with a spirit that was stuck in his house.
True, I can do most of the plumbing stuff, but I far from knowing much about plumbing, really. I can manage to mess my way through it, but we had a major main line plug, and it was all the way out at the street where it goes under the street. So I was glad to have some help with that.
Yeah, and
I didn't know what I was doing.
That was a fantastic thing where the karma came back directly from the person I helped. which is not usual. Usually it's just you pay it forward or whatever you want to think of it. You don't do it for a reason, for acknowledgement or for praise or for whatever, um, and expecting something equal in return. You just do it because you can and it needs to be done and you've chosen to. And then to have it come back to us directly from the guy I helped, who turned out to be a plumber many years later. I think it's been like, what, 15 years since we did that.
Probably that, yeah.
Yeah. So it was pretty interesting. Riel says, oh, Melissa says, yes, the younger people. Riel says, Siofra is doing enough, thank you. Carla says, nodding in agreement over here. Brock says, I need you to keep making jewelry. Well, yes, you're one of my best customers. I will. If you have anything specific you want to have in mind, send me an email and I'll see what I can come up with. Son says, that is great, Siofra. Love that. Melissa says, that's a very interesting barter. Yeah, without knowing I'm making one. He offered, completely out of the blue. He says, I feel I owe you, big time. Because he was having nightmares, he was being held down, he was having visions, screaming woman who'd been murdered in his house, who hated all men. Him and his son both were being harassed, so both him and his son actually came over to help. He was teaching his son, you owe her, do this with me. Come over and on our day off, we're going to do this.
Yeah, and they were a huge amount of help.
They were.
I mean, I did all the manual labor of digging this giant hole, but but they actually did a lot of labor themselves on cutting the big cement pipe.
So they had the tools for that.
Yeah, they had
specialized
to
tools.
cut the pipe where it goes under the street, big cement thing that hooks into.
Yep. So, yeah. Riella says, I appreciate the time you and Ian spend with us every week. I learn a lot. Oh, good. I'm glad. Zune says, I agree, Siofra. And Croc says, I do and I will. Thanks. Riella says, oh, wow. Zune Dragon says, about the not expecting anything in return, but it is great when we do get acknowledged, even just thanked. Well, yeah, there's no doubt about it. There's nothing wrong with being appreciated. But the problem with expecting it, that in itself is an energetic issue. Because when you're doing it and you're giving it over.
I just found everything you need. Every esoteric practice explained in 18 minutes.
Oh my God, in 18 minutes?
Every esoteric practice.
Wow. That person is full of themselves. I don't even think 20 lifetimes would be enough. But yeah, I mean, you're creating an energetic kink, I guess, when you have an expectation like that. But you also can learn that some people don't want to be helped, and you can avoid having to not get thanked for what you were doing. I guess, whatever. Carla says, how incredible. Luna Goddess says, hello, Ian and Siofra. I'm sorry I missed the full moon rituals. Sounds like you've been busy. Yes, and we have a new one coming up in March. Anna Potts says, once lived in a house with a foul smell in the shower drain. Plumbers found nothing. Turned out to be a noxious spirit. Once cleared, smell gone. Yeah, and actually that's an interesting thing in and of itself, because, you know, I think that the smell a spirit makes gives you a pretty clear picture of whether it's a positive or negative spirit.
Yeah, I've definitely had that psychic smell a few times, yeah.
And I like the fact that in my room, when a spirit comes to visit, it smells wonderful, so it makes me happy. And I'm like, yeah, okay, you're welcome. You know, you smell like lavender or roses or vanilla or whatever it is. It's like, whatever that smell is, I don't even know what it is, but I really like it. It doesn't make me sneeze because it's not actually physical, so yay, I can smell that all I want. And that's, you know, one of the clairs is the clairalience, the psychic smell. And it gives you a quick picture into the nature of the being. So foul smell, foul spirit, absolutely. Brielle says, how did you clear it? I helped her cross over to the other side. I mean, she'd been dead for quite a while. There was no way for us to help her find her killer or anything like that. I helped get through her rage first and made a connection. It took a while. I had to do a lot of, I don't know, energetic up and down kind of thing, tuning myself to get to the right frequency so that we could make a connection, and accepting how she felt and getting her through that part, so then I could open up the portal to the other side and call her relatives that she would remember to the other side of the portal so that she could see them and allow the picture of where she was meant to be to form, and then she went through and was greeted by her spirits and crossed over, and then her energy was gone, so she wasn't like lingering. A lot of times when it comes to the paranormal work, like when there's a situation when the dead are interfering with the ability of the living to actually be alive, I feel that steps need to be taken to help them. And if you can help the spirit without, I've never been confrontational up to this point with any of these in situations. I've always used empathy and communication and so forth, and showing them what's there. Because really, once they see it, when they can see it, it's almost an automatic draw. It's like that's where they want to be. That's kind of a pull, and that does the rest of it. So, yeah, it's interesting. Sun Dragon says, Blackberry, love that scent. Cool. Riel says, I've only smelled stinky spirits. I need to find a spirit that smells like cookies. Yeah, apparently so.
Yeah,
And Pot says,
I've had a few that smell like different types of perfume.
yeah. Anna Potts says, my grandma smells like lavender. Yeah. And Brielle says, flower. Carla says, soap for clean skin here. It's good to have clean smell for sure. But yeah, I mean, we all have such varying experiences and abilities and stuff like that. It's like paying attention to yours is the important part. It's like you don't necessarily want to jump into doing something like this because it's not necessarily easy or pleasant. And you have to really be on alert and paying attention. I've had a couple of them want to, get inside of me to take me for a ride to give a loved one a message that's already passed on the other side, so that wouldn't have worked anyway. So boundaries, especially when you're dealing with spirits who have been gone for a while and they don't necessarily have manners like you would expect. So, but yeah. We're getting close to the end of our show. It's like an hour and 27 minutes already. Melissa says, went by too fast. It's always nice time here. Thank you. Boundaries. Riel says, the spirits in my place tell me that they like the smell of frankincense. Frankincense is a good one. It brings in a lot of positive energy and chases away negative energy. So, yeah, I'd recommend burning it if you have it and you're not allergic to it. Definitely. Carla says, I laughed out loud at that. Manners. Well, considering what's going on in our country right now, manners are rather important to me. There's been a lot of lack of manners visible. I could not believe some of the lack of manners that I saw this week. It's just like, wow, you do not know how to behave. Brielle says, yeah, I had a spirit sit up in my body while I was sleeping, and I was like, get out. Yep, definitely no. Some dragon says, hee. Brielle says, it might have been an angel. It doesn't matter. If it's not with permission, it's not okay. You have to be awake, so that you can give informed consent. Carla said, same. Brielle says, but it was still weird. Yeah, not okay. I don't care what his intentions were. You've got to have informed consent. So check them out. Good thing. Keep at it. Definitely do not. Well, the guy who was trying to get in me, I just said no. He tried like 3 times, and I'm like, no, sorry, not. I could feel him at the back of my head and the back of between my shoulder blades, just trying to get in there. It's like, Lisa says, you said, Siofra. Teresa says, ever tempted to kick a bad spirit into hell, thinking about current world? Well, I've never had one that's where they were supposed to go. So, I don't know. I haven't encountered a spirit that was that bad that I would consider that. But if that's where they're supposed to go, I guess that would be up to them. Not up to me. I open up the portal to where they're supposed to go. I don't decide where it is. Sun Dragon says, haha, Brielle, get out of me. Brielle says, exactly. Consent. Yes. Anna Potts says, been enjoying listening for my first time today while I carve a wand. Oh, wonderful. So excited. Great thing to do while you're listening to our show and making a magical tool. I love it. Carla says, you guys tonight was awesome. Siofra and Ian, thank you so much. Have a good week. Much love. Yep. On our way out, I'm going to say goodbye. And we'll talk to you next week, and we'll see what happens this week as far as maybe new videos. I did put out that video recently about what I can do. So you guys who are interested in connecting with me can watch that video and get an idea of what I do offer and how to go about getting what I offer if you're interested in what I offer. So anyway, I decided it was a good thing to do. Teresa says, see you on Zoom. Zoom Dragon says, love that, Anna. Riel says, thank you. All right, blessed be, guys. Dragon says, much love, Siofra and Ian.
Blessed be everybody. Thank you for being here and being such wonderful participants in our chat.
Time to go.